eyes wide open. You think the Appalachian Mountains are just peaceful trails and stunning views? Well, they can be. But deep in these woods, some have a different experience. Don't forget to subscribe and like for more content, and let's get into it.
There's a haunted cave house in Appalachia. Limestone caverns run beneath it. This 4-story carpenter Gothic-style home with gingerbread trim was built in 1858. Behind the house lies the entrance to Wolf Cave. In 1760, wolves came out of this cave and attacked Daniel Boone's dogs. Some still tell of hearing the howl of wolves come from deep within the cave. Many claim to have witnessed strange events in this house. Doors opening, mysterious footsteps, sliding chairs, and slamming shutters. Dolls tossed in the floor, and wind chime sounds in closed rooms, where occupants experience spinning chandeliers, flickering lights, and feeling like something or someone was trying to run them out. Limestone is believed to have properties that hold a certain energy. Whatever happened here may still be echoing through the stones.
Have you ever lived in a house so haunted that even the storms felt like they were in on it? I was just a kid, but I'll never forget what happened in that house. I've got 2 stories I want to share with you, both of them during thunderstorms, and both of them still give me chills to this day. I'm about 6 years old. I'm sitting in the floor playing with my toys, and the rain's rapping on the windows, and thunder's rolling, and occasional lightning strike, and out of nowhere, the curtains in that room on that window started to flutter, but the thing was, the window wasn't open. The window was closed. And then a flash of lightning, and I swear to my almighty God, a face appeared in that window. And it wasn't just a shadow or a trick of light, a face looking right at me, and then it was gone. Another night, we had another storm brewing, and we'd just all gone to bed, all of us in one room. My mom and little brother slept in one bed, and me and Dad slept in the other. And just as we'd laid down, suddenly we hear somebody come up on the porch and knock. Well, Dad grabs his protection that he's got there with him, and he goes to the door and opens the door, but there's nobody there. And here's the weird part. Dad said there were no footprints on the porch. The porch was soaked, but not a mark of a footprint or anything. So we turn off the light, settle back down, and had just dozed off, and boom, it sounded like someone kicked the kitchen door in. Dishes flying, crashing, like a full brawl fight going on in the kitchen. Well, Dad runs in, flips on the light. It's dead quiet. Nothing's moving. Not a single thing out of place, period. We had more nights like that in that house, but now those 2 right there have stuck with me all these years.
I was actually a caregiver long before I did social media, and I did it for years. Now, I've had a few creepy experiences happen. I mean, you're going into people's houses, you don't know what you're walking into, the energy, the history, but one sticks out to me. So let me tell you the story of the lady in the strange white house in Northeast Tennessee. So this woman was actually not my client. I agreed to do a 2-day pickup for this woman because her caregiver couldn't make it. She was actually like a 45-minute drive for me. It was a pretty far drive, but I agreed to do it. I just had to stay with her all day for these 2 days. And she was like a really easy client. You just had to like keep her company and stay with her, and you had to drive her to church. That was it. And the church was like right there. So I get to this house. It's huge. It is a huge white house. Like, I'm talking at least 6 bedrooms. It's beautiful. So I get inside, I'm looking around, I introduce myself to her. She seems really sweet. She has dementia. We sit on the couch, we talk, we eat breakfast. And that is when I noticed the house is a little strange. There is a living room, a formal dining room. There is a kitchen with a small table in it. And then there's a small hallway with a bathroom in the middle, like a Jack and Jill bathroom style, and a bedroom on each side. That is all on the downstairs, right at the beginning, right? Half of the house is bricked off. The entire upstairs is bricked off. You can't get to it. There's no access outside either. Nothing. You can't get to the rest of that house. And I clocked that. I was like, that's a little strange. It's a little strange, but whatever. It's fine. So I noticed that. Then the outbursts start happening. She has dementia. It's fine. I understand. Starts getting a little bit, upset. You try to calm them down. You do what they ask. It's, just keep them calm and try to keep them happy. And then she bolts up from her chair. I jump up from the couch because, whoa, she moved fast. She starts pointing, following around the room. There's a little girl in here. I said, no. It's just us. You're okay. There's a little girl in here. No, ma'am, you're fine. You're safe. She's following her around the room. There's a little girl in here. You don't see her. What's wrong with you? I'm like, no, it's okay. You're okay. And at this point, I'm just trying to calm her down. So she eventually calms down. We go back to watching TV. She bolts up again. I'm up off the couch. I'm already on edge. She scared me again. So she jumps up. She declares that there is blood all over her probably $1,000 rug under us. And I'm like, No. You are fine. There's no blood. You are fine. She is frantic. She is crying. She is screaming at me to clean up this blood. Not with a rag, not with nothing. No, she wants me to vacuum up this blood. I keep telling her it's fine. There's no blood. You are totally safe. You are fine. I have to go get that vacuum and vacuum this rug, and I do it for an hour as she is hysterical. Just trying to calm her down, trying to do anything. She is in hysterics. She eventually is better. She gets upset with me because I am vacuuming when it doesn't need to be and wasting her energy. And as I turn to unplug the vacuum, I see behind her a little girl peeping out from behind her chair. And I'm like, oh my God, her granddaughter's here and I didn't even know it. Oh no, she just saw this entire spectacle. That's really sad. And then I watch what I thought was the granddaughter walk through the wall. Right through it. I didn't go back the next day. I called my work and I was like, I'm not going to be able to make that drive the next day. I'm so sorry. I was so scared. It scared me so bad. And I have so many theories of things that have happened in that house because of other family members of hers that I met. I have thoughts and I have theories. But that was my experience caregiving in the Appalachian Mountains. Well, one of them at least.
I just got home from the house that I lived in when I first moved up to New England that was incredibly haunted. I went to drop off flowers for Carrot, which was my cat that I moved up here with, and sadly he passed away in that house within a month or two of me living here. I had texted the owner of the house, who I'm still friends with, asking if I could bring him flowers because last week was the 2-year anniversary of him passing, and she said, sure, of course, we're not there, but you're welcome to leave them on the porch. So I drive up there, I do that, and as I am backing out, I look up at the second floor window, which is the room that had a lot of activity when I lived there, and I see somebody standing in the window. There are no cars there. She told me that nobody would be home. That's why I left the flowers on the porch rather than going in and saying hi, but I am seeing a person standing in the window. And stuff like that was just common living there. There was always weird shit. I had a neighbor who was a few years younger than me named Eric, and he lived in the closest cabin to the house, which was half a mile away. He knew that I was seeing things and experiencing things in the house, but he was a hardcore skeptic, and I'm sure he still is. He never seemed scared. He would always just try to come up with logical explanations, which I appreciated because I was living there alone, and sometimes it would get pretty scary. One night we're in the living room watching a movie, and he gets up to leave, and we both hear the voice of a little girl say something in the kitchen, which is right next to the living room with no wall in between. We both look at each other and look at the kitchen because we're like, what the was that? And you couldn't make out what she was saying, but it was definitely a very high-pitched little voice. He turns to me and he's like, it had to have been a mouse. It couldn't have been anything else. It was just a mouse. I'm like, okay. So I walk him to the front door to see him out. When you walk in the front door, there's a mudroom where you can take your boots and your jacket and all that off. And then directly in front of you is the second living room. And then to the left of that are the stairs that go up to the second floor. And then hard left, there's an office, which is the room that Carrot died in. So as he's going to leave, his back is to the front door. He gives me a hug. And as he's doing that, I hear him gasp in my ear and pull away. And I look at him and tears are welling up in his eyes as he's looking up at the second floor landing up the stairs. I'm like, what is wrong? What just happened? Are you okay? And he is not breaking eye contact with the top landing of the stairs. Like, he will not look at me. He's just looking up there and he's like, I swear to God, I just saw you moving up on the second landing. And I'm like, that's not possible. Like, what exactly did you see? And he's like, I saw you. It was your outline, but it was all black. Like, there was no color. I couldn't see hair color. It was just like your shadow moved from one side of the landing to the other. And at this point, tears are coming down his face. And again, this man is a skeptic. He doesn't believe in the paranormal. And he's like, I don't know what I just saw, but I need to leave. I'm like, so you're gonna leave me with something that looks like me in the house? Cool, thank you. And he's like, yeah, I have to go, bye. That night, I'm laying in bed. My dog is in bed with me, obviously, because he always is. And I'm drifting off to sleep, and I hear something tapping on the dresser in my bedroom, which is at like the foot of the bed, kind of a few feet away. I slowly crack my eyes open and look, and I see the outline of somebody standing against the dresser, slowly drumming their fingers like they're impatiently waiting for something. My eyes obviously fly all the way open, and they're gone. When I say stuff like this was common, it was like a weekly event. My first few months in that house, right after Carrot had passed away, my mom came up to spend Thanksgiving with me. I put her in my bedroom, and I went into the guest bedroom. It's a yellow bedroom with like weird purple splotches all over it. It looks very creepy. It is a very creepy room. It has a crawl space. I didn't want to put her in there. So she sleeps in my room, which is much nicer and more comfortable. And the next morning she's like, why did you keep getting up in the middle of the night? And I'm like, I didn't. What are you talking about? And she was like, I was hearing footsteps on the stairs and outside of the bedroom like all night. Yeah, it happens. I wasn't up though. It wasn't me. The next night she comes into the room that I'm sleeping in as I'm drifting off, and she's like, I'm hearing footsteps again. Unfortunately, you're just gonna have to get used to it because it happens. You hear them all the time in this house. The final night she was visiting me, we were walking my dog, and there was like the big main house and then a barn, which wasn't used for anything. There were no animals or anything. The barn had a very creepy vibe, more so than the house even. Like when I would be in the barn getting firewood, doors would close on their own, objects would fall on their own. And if I asked nicely for whoever was doing that to please stop, they usually would. So my mom and I are walking Rocky, facing the barn, heading that way. We both, at the same time, see a shadow standing in one of the windows of the barn and then duck down. And that was its signature move. I would see something and then it would duck, like it wanted me to come look for it, which I never did. So yeah, that house, the property, the whole thing, it was absolutely wild. The property that house is on was originally owned by the Mack family, which is the maternal side of Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism. His mother's family lived there for generations. There are roads all over the town named after her family. I don't know if it's them haunting that house or what it is, but something is going on there.
Haunted house in Appalachians. We're at Wawa again, sitting in the parking lot. I shared how I figured out the house was haunted, and what I found out was in my house, okay? Now, there are other spirits in there. I could tell the difference, where some of them are human spirits, but whatever that is not. That's definitely not whatever it's trying to be. Once I found out what those were, I started to figure out kind of where they came from, and then I started to learn that a lot of those are common in native land in those types of areas. As I started doing research on the mountains, and I started to realize that when I would go out and walk my dog, I would see plants I've never seen before in my life. And I would go research them, and all of them would say that they were used for some medicinal purpose. It started to all make sense to me once I saw that. I was like, okay, this is still actively growing on the land today. And it's on the same land that my house sits on. It's all, I mean, it's divided by property owners now, but it's all one piece of land. My neighbor at the time, I started sharing stuff with her about it because she's lived here her for years, at least 30 years. And she's seen people go in and out of there. She told me that her and her son used to go down the road, and he would dig and still find old arrowheads in the dirt from when the farmers would come down and mill. They would kick up a lot of stuff, and he would go down there digging and find stuff like that. So I kept seeing this man. I thought he looked like a priest because he had on like a black, like, suited outfit, but he had like something white right here in the front. And in my mind, I was like, it's a priest. I said, immediately do research. And the one thing I noticed that he had a very tall hat on. So me knowing how old the house was, I was like, what does a priest's outfit look like in the 1900s? Thinking that's what it's going to give me. And you know what it said? It gave me the outfit for a Quaker. And I was like, that's actually what I saw. It's not what I thought I saw. So I guess it showed me what I needed. I also learned that the Quakers migrated to that area with the natives back in the early 1900s. And the story is that they lived peacefully together. I have a feeling that's not the whole story, because somebody is mad. Somebody's mad. But that guy that wears that, he feels like a cold, stern man, but he doesn't feel dangerous to me. I think he might be in there keeping things under wraps, if you ask me. He doesn't feel mean to me. He just feels like he stands around watching. Like that's all he has to do. That's it. So now while I'm actively figuring this stuff out, something is telling me to go and check my DNA ancestry tree. I did my DNA test, I think it was in 2020 I did it. And, you know, if you've done it before, you go and they add stuff and they update things. I go on there and I start looking at the history of things, and you're not going to believe what it said. It said that my ancestors migrated to the same area that I live in now. How that happened? I don't know, but I'm here now. And then something clicked. Before I moved here, I had a dream of me inside my apartment. Now, I know that's going to sound wacko crazy to some people. The people that know, okay? I wasn't there with anyone, but I saw the inside of that apartment. So now I'm thinking, and I'm like, have I been here before or something? Am I haunting myself in this house? Is that what I'm doing? My fiance at the time is looking at me. He thinks I'm nuts. I think he thought I was crazy for a while until it started with him. And I will say this, whatever that thing is in there does not like having men in there. It doesn't. And I think that's why it messed with him as much as it did in the hallway. And I think that could have contributed to us fighting. And it was a lot. It was definitely a lot. A haunted house in Appalachia. Somebody told me I was saying it wrong. It's Appalachian. Let me know if that's right. Appalachian. Now, one night, me and my fiance were asleep, and I don't dream a whole lot. Since my health's been a little wonky, my brain just doesn't do it, you know. But this night, I dreamed, and they made sure it was a good one. So I was asleep, and in my dream, I saw the same man that my fiance said that he sees at the bottom of the steps. Okay, and I am very confident when I do dream. I'll just say that. And in my dream, I walked out of my room. Oh, sorry guys. In my dream, I walked out of my room, and it was like I was watching what was happening, like outside of my body. And I was asleep, my fiance was asleep, and I felt the man come and stand at the bottom of the steps. It was like I knew when he arrived. Now, I went and I stood at the top of the steps, and in my dream, we're just staring at each other, okay? I'm almost trying to assert dominance, I felt like, over my family. Sorry, guys. Now, this was the first time in my dream where I felt myself do that, but I could actually feel it back. And that scared me in my sleep. And I couldn't wake back up. Okay? So I started to get a little bit scared. And I started to get a little bit scared while I was in my dream. And I felt myself struggling. So I went to go say, I'm covered in the blood of Jesus Christ. And when I did that, before I could finish getting the name Jesus out, I felt an immense amount of pressure on my chest and my throat, and it would not let me say it. In my dreams, I couldn't say it. That, I finally pushed myself up out of my sleep, and I told my fiance what happened, and he's way better at ignoring things. If it's out of sight, out of mind, he can ignore it, whether it scares him or not. But after that is when I noticed that things kind of went downhill. Still to this day, stuff still happens. I do have a photo I'm going to share with you guys. I'm going to insert it here. This is a picture after I started cleaning my kitchen all day. I came down the next morning, and this is what my cabinets look like. Now, I would have brushed it off to, oh, maybe I just forgot. But every single cabinet is opened the same amount of space, almost like it did that on purpose to piss me off. So that's what I'm dealing with now. There may be other things that I add, guys. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to leave that part in there because I'm telling you, the stuff that has been, it just doesn't want me to tell. Like today, my memory's just it's off today, and I don't know why. It actually feels really good to get that out. I've been so scared to share it for some reason. It's almost like if I ignore it, it's not there.
One night, I was sleeping and I woke up, and there was like a shadow in the doorway of our bedroom, and this was at my husband and father-in-law's home before they passed away. You know, I thought my husband was going to work. I thought it was my father-in-law. So I jumped up, and I really didn't think anything of it. I was walking through the house, but he was in bed asleep, and the kids were in bed, which it was way too tall to be a child anyway. And honestly, I wrote it off. I wrote it off as possibly my husband's brother who had passed away years prior. And I was like, well, that's where he lived when he was alive. So maybe that's just him, like, checking up on us or something. But for years, that's what I thought. And now I'm beginning to wonder, because in that house, we, all the time, even the kids would see like shadows walking through the house or just out of our peripheral vision, and when you turn around it's gone and things like that. And now that's kind of all adding up. It's kind of coming together, and it's just like any other ghost story. It's unexplainable, and I don't know.
We lived in an old house that was housing for Civil War soldiers at one point, and it also, I know it held at least one funeral for somebody that lived in the house, so it was haunted. So one day, me and my brother were playing hide and seek, and we were pretty young. I think I was like 5, and I hid under our dining room table. There's like these old green chairs, and they sat in the corner of the room, like 2 corners, and I hid under the table, and I heard like movement in the room, and I thought it was my brother who was about to find me, so I look out from under the table, and I see a man in a uniform sitting in one of those chairs. And at the time, I was 5. I didn't even know what Civil War was. Like, I didn't know that was housing. And I ended up telling my mom about it a couple years later. I told her about it then, but then we brought it back up a couple years later, and she told me that the house was housing for Civil War soldiers, and I probably saw one of the soldiers. There was like a closet that had a ladder that went up to like an extra room, and my brother used to just go up in that room and have conversations, and it just seemed like he was talking to himself. Like, it was back and forth conversations, but he was the only one you could hear talking. And I would just stand at the bottom of the ladder and listen to him, and he would just be having these full-blown conversations with nobody, which I've never talked to him about it. It very much could have been just like his imagination, imaginary friend, or it could have been something different because we were young, and apparently when you're young, you're more like in tune with ghosts and things like that. So my sister passed away, and shortly after she passed away, my mom was folding laundry, and she was folding a towel. She folded it, put the corners together, and there was like static electricity, and then a ball of light came off of the towel and traveled up to the corner of the room, floated all around the room for a couple minutes, and then floated above my dad's head for a little bit and then disappeared. I don't know if that can be explained or not, but it was just kind of weird that it happened right after my sister passed away. And it was literally like a ball of light. Like, it wasn't, I don't even know how to describe, it was like a ball of light. And then in that same house, a man lived in it before us, and he had Alzheimer's disease, and one day he went down the hallway, down the stairs, out of the back door, it was an old house, so when you open the door and you didn't like properly close it, it would slam and the windows would rattle in their frames. And so he went out that door, got in a car, drove 2 miles down the road, got in a really bad accident, and passed away. And one day, my mom was just doing things around the house, and she heard heavy footsteps going down the hallway, down the stairs, the back door opened, slammed, the windows rattled. She asked my dad if it was him. It wasn't my dad. And then we moved to Georgia, the Appalachian Mountains, and we lived in 3 houses before the one we live in now, and nothing ever happened in those houses. Nothing happened in this house until a few years after living in here, and my grandma passed away, and a few other people passed away in the same house as her. So before we sold it, we thought the right thing to do was to get a medium to go and cleanse the house, because a lot of bad things had happened in that house. And right after we got the house cleansed, I'm guessing we kicked the ghosts out of that house, so they decided to come to our house. Don't know. And then stuff started happening at this house. And I think the first thing that happened was my mom was doing laundry, and she set the dryer to dry the clothes. She went downstairs to start cleaning, and she heard the dryer go off, and she was like, that's weird, I just put them in, maybe it's just being weird, I need to go restart it. She comes back upstairs, the dryer door is open, and the clothes have fallen out of the dryer completely. Like, the dogs were home, but there's no way a dog opened the dryer and brought the clothes out. And she was home alone, like everybody else was at school, at work. And then my doors in my bedroom shortly after that started opening and closing by themselves all the time. It would go on for at least 10 minutes. Like, I have videos of me recording it because it would just continuously happen. So I just started recording it. This door right here, it's a pocket door, so it slides, and it'll rattle in its pocket at night randomly. So me and my sister shared a room. It was my bedroom, and she, one night, kept hearing the door rattling, like this one, the bathroom door, and her headphones were sitting on her nightstand. They flew across the room. She got tapped on her back, so she ran downstairs. She was in our living room, and she kept hearing footsteps, and she would look over in the direction of the footsteps, and they would stop. So she ended up sleeping in my mom's room because she was absolutely terrified. And one thing about my sister is she doesn't get freaked out much, and she also refused to sleep in my mom's room. So when she came running in the room and she was like, I'm sleeping in here tonight, I'm not going back up to our room, we were like, holy crap, something like major happened, because she doesn't get like freaked out like that. And then still to this day, like, we see just like shadows all the time in our house. We'll be sitting in the living room, and it's not, a lot of the time it's not just one of us see it, like everybody will turn their heads and be like, we don't really talk about it, but it's pretty obvious that everybody sees it because everybody will turn their head to where that just happened, and then we just go back to normal like nothing happened because don't speak of it. I play piano, and this happened a couple years ago, like every time I would play piano, I would get touched on my back, like this, just right on my shoulder, and it would make I stopped playing piano for at least a year and a half because every time that I played piano, that happened to me. One time, I had some friends over, and we were watching a scary movie, and my brother and his kids lived with us, and they had like a baby rocker that they kept in the living room, and the baby rocker turned on out of nowhere. The music was playing, it was rocking back and forth. I was like, okay, maybe like the dog stepped on the button or something, whatever. I went over to turn it off, and the dogs weren't in the living room, and it was unplugged from the wall. I had to plug it back in and hit the button to turn it off because it wouldn't turn off with me just pressing the power button when it was unplugged. One night I was in my room and I heard boxes moving and vacuuming downstairs, like at the end of the stairs where I heard the singing, and I was like, why is Mom vacuuming and moving boxes at like 2 a.m? I called her, I was like, girl, go to bed, what are you doing? And she was like, I'm literally laying in bed, like, what? And so I made her meet me at the bottom of the stairs, and I told her what I heard, because I was scared, and she was like, that's crazy, because around this time at night, when I was younger, my mom, who passed away, used to move the furniture and vacuum to clean the house. And then my friend and her family lived in our basement for a few months, and one night, me and my mom were in the living room. I think we were watching a scary movie. We always watch scary movies. Watching a scary movie, my friend's mom comes up from the basement. She's like, hey, are y'all moving stuff and vacuuming? And we were like, no, like, we're watching a movie. Mind you, I just had the same experience as her, so I was like, that's kind of wild. And then my friend followed her mom up the stairs and was like, guys, like, what are you doing? It's really late. Like, why are you moving stuff and vacuuming? And we're like, we're not. We're sitting on the couch.
If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe so I can bring you more chilling content. And until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and question everything.